Dr. Hana Kim stared at her computer screen with tired eyes. She had been working at the Seoul Deep Space Monitoring Station for 12 years and had never seen anything like this signal. The radio waves coming from deep space were not random, noise like usual. They had patterns that looked almost like language. Hana rubbed her eyes and looked at the data again. The signal was definitely artificial, and it was coming from somewhere beyond the solar system. The monitoring station was quiet at 3 in the morning. Most of her co-workers had gone home hours ago. Only the night shift operators remained to watch the automated systems. Hana was supposed to leave at midnight, but something about this signal kept her glued to her chair. She had spent the last 3 hours trying to decode what she was seeing on her screen. The signal repeated every 47 minutes with exact precision. Inside each transmission were mathematical sequences that any intelligent species would recognize. Prime numbers, the golden ratio, and basic physics constants were embedded in the data stream. Someone, or something, was trying to talk to Earth, and they were using universal mathematics as their common language. Hana's hands shook as she reached for her phone to call her supervisor, Captain Ji-won Park. The captain was probably asleep, but this discovery could not wait until morning. The phone rang 4 times before a groggy voice answered on the other end. "This better be important, Hana," Captain Park said with a yawn. "Do you know what time it is?" "Captain, we have a problem," Hana said quickly. "I found something in the deep space data that you need to see right away. Someone is trying to contact us from outside the solar system." There was a long pause on the phone. Captain Park was suddenly very awake. "Are you absolutely certain about this? Have you double-checked your equipment and run diagnostics?" "I have checked everything 3 times, Hana replied. "The signal is real and it is definitely artificial. The mathematics are too complex to be natural phenomena. Captain, I think we are receiving our first message from aliens." Captain Park was quiet for another moment. As commander of Earth's First Contact Protocol Division, she had trained for this day but never expected it to actually happen during her career. "I will be there in 20 minutes. Do not discuss this with anyone else until I arrive. Keep monitoring the signal and record everything." Hana hung up the phone and turned back to her computer. Her heart was beating fast as she watched the alien transmission continue to stream across her screen. The mathematics were becoming more complex with each repetition. Prime number sequences were giving way to geometric formulas and then to what looked like star charts. The aliens were not just saying hello. They were trying to teach Earth about their location in the galaxy. Captain Park arrived at the monitoring station wearing her military uniform despite the early hour. She was a serious woman in her 40s who had spent most of her career preparing for theoretical alien contact scenarios. Her team had written protocols for peaceful first contact situations, but those plans assumed Earth would be the one making contact first. "Show me what you found," Captain Park said as she sat down next to Hana's workstation. Hana pulled up the signal analysis on her main screen. "The transmission started 4 hours ago and has been repeating continuously. Look at these mathematical progressions. They start simple but become incredibly sophisticated. And here," she pointed to another section of data, "this appears to be stellar cartography. They are showing us star positions relative to known pulsars." Captain Park studied the data for several minutes. Her expression grew more serious as she recognized the implications. "This is definitely artificial intelligence behind these transmissions. The level of mathematical knowledge indicates an advanced civilization. Have you been able to decode any actual language yet?" "Not yet, but I think I am getting close," Hana said. "The signal is using frequency modulation to embed what looks like linguistic patterns. If I can isolate those patterns, I might be able to build a translation matrix." Captain Park nodded and pulled out her secure phone. "I need to contact Minister Do-hyun Lee immediately. This discovery needs to go up the chain of command right now. Keep working on the translation while I make some calls." Minister Lee was Earth's highest-ranking official for planetary defense matters. He oversaw all military and scientific programs related to potential external threats. Captain Park's call woke him from a deep sleep, but he listened carefully as she explained the situation. Within an hour, Minister Lee was on his way to the monitoring station, along with a team of linguistics experts and military advisors. While they waited for the minister to arrive, Hana made a breakthrough in her translation work. The alien signal contained embedded linguistic structures that followed logical patterns. By comparing the mathematical sequences with the language components, she began to understand how the aliens organized their communication. The results were disturbing. "Captain, you need to see this," Hana said urgently. "I have translated part of the message, and it is not what we expected." Captain Park looked at Hana's translation on the screen. The words were arranged in broken English, but the meaning was clear enough to understand. "Greetings, Earth humans. We are Galactic Federation of 12 peaceful species. We request urgent assistance. Ancient enemy called Devourers attacks our worlds. 3 core planets destroyed in 6 months. Our military forces insufficient to stop invasion. We have monitored Earth for 100 years. Your species shows exceptional combat capabilities. We formally request alliance against common threat. Time is limited. Devourers approach Federation core worlds. Please respond with military assistance. Coordinates for meeting point attached. We await your reply." Captain Park read the message twice to make sure she understood correctly. The aliens were not coming to Earth as invaders or peaceful explorers. They were refugees asking for military help against something even more dangerous. This changed everything about how Earth needed to respond. Minister Lee arrived at the monitoring station just as Hana finished translating the full message. He was a tall man with gray hair who had spent decades planning for various alien contact scenarios. None of his plans had anticipated a distress call from a Galactic Federation requesting military aid. "How reliable is this translation?" Minister Lee asked as he read the decoded message. "The mathematical foundation is solid," Hana replied. "The linguistic patterns are consistent throughout the transmission. I am confident this is an accurate translation of their message." Minister Lee turned to Captain Park. "What is your assessment of this situation?" "Sir, this appears to be a legitimate request for military assistance from an advanced alien coalition," Captain Park said. "They claim to be under attack by entities called Devourers that have already destroyed 3 of their worlds. They specifically requested our help because they have been monitoring Earth and believe we have superior combat capabilities." Minister Lee was quiet for a long moment as he considered the implications. Earth had no idea that aliens had been watching human civilization for the past century. The fact that these aliens specifically requested military assistance suggested they had observed human warfare and been impressed by what they saw. "We need to convene an emergency session of the Global Defense Council," Minister Lee said finally. "Every major world leader needs to know about this immediately. If these aliens are telling the truth, we may be facing a threat that could eventually reach Earth." Captain Park nodded. "What should we tell them in our response?" "For now, send a simple acknowledgement that we received their message and are preparing a response," Minister Lee replied. "Do not commit to anything until we have consulted with all Earth governments. This decision is too important for any one nation to make alone." Hana began composing a basic response message using the same mathematical and linguistic patterns the aliens had used. As she worked, she could not shake the feeling that this was the beginning of something much bigger than anyone realized. The aliens had called for allies, but Earth's response would determine the future of both civilizations. General Minho Choi had never seen anything like the chaos in the Pentagon's Situation Room. Representatives from 43 nations were arguing loudly in 6 different languages, while computer screens displayed translated alien messages from across the room. The Global Defense Council had been in emergency session for 18 hours, and no one could agree on how Earth should respond to the alien request for military aid. President Eun Jae-chai of South Korea was trying to maintain order as the current council chair, but the debate was becoming more heated by the hour. Some nations wanted to send a small diplomatic mission to learn more about the situation. Others argued that Earth should stay completely isolated and ignore the alien message. A few military leaders were already demanding immediate mobilization of all available forces. "We cannot make this decision based on fear," President Che said firmly. "If these aliens are telling the truth about the Devourers, then this threat could eventually reach our solar system. We need to consider our options carefully." General Choi stood up to address the council. As Supreme Commander of the newly formed Terran Defense Force, he had been tasked with developing Earth's military response options. His staff had been working around the clock to analyze the alien threat assessment and determine what kind of force would be needed. "Ladies and gentlemen, I have reviewed the alien transmission data with our best military analysts," General Choi said. Based on their description of the Devourer attacks, we are facing an enemy capable of destroying entire planetary civilizations. If we decide to help the Galactic Federation, we need to commit everything we have. The British representative raised his hand. General, surely you are not suggesting we send our entire military into deep space based on one alien message. What if this is some kind of trap or deception? Sir, our analysis indicates the alien transmission is genuine, General, Choi replied. Dr. So-Young-nam's team has been studying their technology signatures and mathematical frameworks. The level of scientific knowledge required to fake this information would exceed our current capabilities by centuries. Dr. So-Young-nam was sitting at a computer terminal in the corner of the room. She had been reverse engineering alien technology, specifications from the data embedded in their transmission. What she had discovered was both fascinating and terrifying. The aliens possessed technology far beyond anything on Earth, but they were still losing their war against the Devourers. General Choi is correct about the authenticity of the message, Dr. Nam said. But there is something else you all need to know. I have been analyzing the technical specifications they provided about Devourer capabilities. These entities are not just advanced aliens. They appear to be some kind of biomechanical hybrid that consumes entire star systems for energy. The room became very quiet as everyone absorbed this information. The French representative was the first to speak. Are you saying these Devourers could eventually consume our solar system as well? Based on their expansion pattern described in the alien data, yes, Dr. Nam replied. The Devourers appear to be moving systematically through the galaxy, consuming all available energy sources. If they defeat the Galactic Federation, Earth would likely be their next target within 50 to 100 years. This revelation changed the entire tone of the debate. What had seemed like a choice between helping strangers or staying safe suddenly became a question of fighting the Devourers now or facing them alone later. General Choi saw the shift in mood and pressed his advantage. The way I see it, we have two choices, General Choi said. We can help the Federation fight the Devourers now, while we have allies, or we can wait for them to come to Earth after they have consumed the resources of 12 other civilizations. I know which option gives us a better chance of survival. President Che called for a brief recess so the national representatives could consult with their governments. General Choi used the break to review deployment plans with his staff. Lieutenant Kyung-yu was waiting for him in the hallway with an urgent report. Sir, I have been coordinating with our special forces units around the world, Lieutenant Yu said. Every elite military unit is requesting permission to volunteer for the alien mission. Our soldiers are not afraid of this fight. Lieutenant Yu was one of Earth's most decorated special forces operators. She had served in conflicts on every continent and was known for accepting the most dangerous assignments. If she was confident about fighting aliens in space, General Choi knew his troops were ready for anything. What is the status of our space-capable vessels? General Choi asked. Dr. Nam's engineering teams have been working with our aerospace contractors to retrofit military systems onto civilian spacecraft, Lieutenant Yu replied. We can have a combat-ready fleet of 200 ships within 72 hours if the Council approves the mission. The speed of Earth's military mobilization would have shocked the aliens if they had known about it. While the Galactic Federation typically took months to coordinate joint military operations, humans were already modifying cargo ships into weapons platforms and training soldiers for zero-gravity combat. Every major military contractor on Earth had shifted to emergency production schedules. Scientist Jiho Kang was working in a classified laboratory beneath the Pentagon, developing experimental weapons based on alien technology specifications. His team had made remarkable progress in understanding Federation energy systems and had already designed several prototype weapons that could be manufactured using Earth materials. The alien technology is actually quite compatible with our existing physics knowledge, Dr. Kang explained to General Choi during a brief technical briefing. Their energy manipulation methods are more advanced than ours, but we can adapt our nuclear and electromagnetic technologies to create similar effects. When the Global Defense Council reconvened, the mood had shifted dramatically. Every major world leader had been briefed on the Devourer threat, and most were now supporting immediate military intervention. President Che took a final vote, and the result was overwhelming. Earth would send a combat fleet to assist the Galactic Federation. General Choi, you have authorization to deploy the Terran Defense Force, President Chai announced. You will have access to all available military resources from every participating nation. Make us proud." General Choi saluted and immediately began issuing deployment orders. Within hours, military bases around the world were buzzing with activity, as soldiers and equipment were loaded onto spacecraft. The largest military mobilization in human history was underway, and it was happening faster than anyone thought possible. Dr. Nam's engineering teams worked around the clock to install human weapons systems on the retrofitted civilian ships. Cargo vessels were converted into missile platforms, while passenger liners became troop transports. Even luxury yachts were modified to carry reconnaissance equipment and special forces teams. Lieutenant Yu was put in charge of training programs for soldiers who would fight in alien environments. Her crash courses covered zero-gravity combat, alien atmosphere survival, and fighting enemies with unknown capabilities. The training was intense, but every volunteer soldier was motivated by the knowledge that they were Earth's first line of defense against an existential threat. The aliens had expected a diplomatic response from Earth, requesting more information and time to consider their request. Instead, they received a message that stunned the Galactic Federation leadership. Earth's response was brief and direct. "We are coming, and we are bringing everything we have. Prepare coordinates for our fleet arrival. Estimated time of departure, 72 hours. Ambassador Cale Thornweave of the Viridian species was responsible for alien relations with Earth. He had to read the human message 3 times before he understood what it meant. In less than 4 days, the humans were launching a full-scale military intervention without even requesting detailed strategic briefings or diplomatic negotiations. The speed and scale of Earth's response was unprecedented in Galactic Federation history. Most member species required months of committee meetings and careful planning before committing any military resources to joint operations. The humans were treating the Devourer threat like an immediate planetary emergency and responding accordingly. General Choi stood on the bridge of the flagship Soul's Pride as the massive human fleet prepared for departure. 237 vessels of various sizes were arranged in formation around Earth's orbital shipyards. Each ship was loaded with human soldiers, weapons, and determination to fight an enemy they had never seen. "All ships report ready for departure," came the voice of Admiral Sehun Bai over the communication system. "Destination coordinates locked. An estimated travel time to Federation space is 6 days at maximum velocity." General Choi looked out at the fleet that represented Earth's greatest military effort in history. Every soldier and crew member had volunteered for a mission that might be suicide. They were traveling across the galaxy to fight biomechanical monsters alongside alien allies they had never met. It was exactly the kind of impossible mission that humans seemed to excel at. "All ships, this is General Choi," he announced over the fleet communication network. "We are about to make history as Earth's first interstellar military force." Ambassador Cale Thornweave felt his crystalline skin change color from calm blue to nervous purple as he watched the human fleet approach the Federation rally point near the Kepler system. The Viridian had been expecting a small diplomatic vessel, with perhaps a dozen human representatives who would need weeks of briefings before committing to any military action. Instead, his sensors were detecting over 200 armed spacecraft approaching at combat speed. The Federation fleet looked pitiful in comparison to the human armada. After losing 3 core worlds to the Devourers, the remaining 11 member species could only gather 74 vessels for the defense of their last major stronghold. Most of these ships were lightly armed exploration craft or civilian transports, hastily converted for military use. The humans appeared to be bringing a purpose-built war fleet. Admiral Sehun Bai stood on the bridge of his flagship studying the alien vessels through his viewing screens. The Federation ships were sleek and elegant with graceful curves and minimal weapon systems visible on their hulls. They looked like they were designed by artists rather than military engineers. Human ships were blocky, heavily armored, and bristling with missile launchers and energy weapons. "Communications officer, open a channel to the Federation command." "Ship," Admiral Bay ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves to our new allies." The main screen flickered and showed the interior of an alien bridge. Ambassador Thornweave appeared on screen along with several other creatures that looked nothing like anything from Earth. One appeared to be made of living crystal, another looked like a floating jellyfish, and a third resembled a walking tree. with too many eyes. "Greetings, humans," Ambassador Thornweave said through his translation device. "I am Ambassador Kale Thornweave, representing the Galactic Federation. We are grateful that you have answered our call for assistance. However, we were expecting a much smaller diplomatic mission to begin negotiations." Admiral Bay smiled grimly. "Ambassador, Earth does not negotiate when facing extinction-level threats. We are here to fight the Devourers, and we brought everything we could carry. I am Admiral Sehun Bay, commanding the Terran Defense Force Expeditionary Fleet." The aliens on the screen looked confused and slightly alarmed. Commander Hyejin, standing beside Admiral Bay, stepped forward to clarify the human position. She was Earth's leading tactical analyst and had spent the 6-day journey studying every piece of available data about Devourer combat capabilities. "Ambassador, our analysis indicates the Devourer threat poses an immediate danger to Earth," Commander O explained. "We cannot afford a prolonged diplomatic process while enemy forces continue destroying civilizations. We need to coordinate our military assets and engage the Devourers as soon as possible." Healer Zenthera of the crystalline species floated closer to her communication screen. Her entire body was composed of living diamond-like structures that refracted light in beautiful patterns. She had been serving as the Federation's chief medical officer and had treated thousands of refugees from Devourer attacks. "Humans, you must understand that the Devourers are unlike any enemy we have ever faced," Healer Zenthara said urgently. "They are biomechanical entities that adapt to our weapons and tactics. Our military forces have been fighting them for 2 years, and we have only managed to slow their advance." Commander O studied the medical data that Healer Zenthara transmitted to the human fleet. The information about Devourer physiology was disturbing, but not completely surprising. Earth's military scientists had theorized that any enemy capable of consuming entire star systems would need to be extremely adaptable. "We appreciate the intelligence about enemy capabilities," Commander O replied. "Our forces have prepared for fighting adaptive opponents. Human military doctrine emphasizes overwhelming force and rapid tactical changes to prevent enemy adaptation." What the humans did not say was that their approach to warfare was fundamentally different from anything the Federation had ever seen. While alien species focused on precision strikes and minimal casualties, human military strategy was based on total destruction of enemy forces through superior firepower and aggressive tactics. Lieutenant Kyung Yu was in the shuttle bay of the Adnet human flagship preparing for the first joint training exercise with Federation forces. She had volunteered to demonstrate human combat techniques to their alien allies and was curious to see how the other species fought. Her elite Special Forces team was equipped with the latest human weapons and armor systems. The joint training took place on a Federation space station that served as their military command center. Lieutenant Yu and her team arrived to find alien warriors who looked nothing like human soldiers. The Federation troops carried elegant energy weapons and wore lightweight armor that seemed more decorative than protective. "Welcome, human warriors," said Captain Veltar of the Serpentine species. "We are honored to train alongside the legendary fighters of Earth. Your reputation for combat prowess has spread throughout Federation space." Lieutenant Yu was surprised to learn that humans already had a reputation among alien species. "What exactly have you heard about human combat capabilities?" "Your species has been monitored for 100 years, Captain Veltar explained. "Federation observers have documented your wars and military innovations. We have never seen such creative approaches to warfare or such determination in the face of overwhelming odds." The training exercise began with basic combat scenarios against simulated Devourer forces. The Federation troops moved with careful precision, using coordinated energy attacks and defensive formations. Their tactics were sophisticated but seemed slow and predictable to human eyes. When Lieutenant Yu's team engaged the same simulation, their approach was completely different. Human soldiers moved aggressively, used explosive weapons that damaged everything nearby, and employed what the aliens considered suicidal tactics. The humans destroyed the simulated Devourers in half the time using methods that violated several Federation military regulations. "Your tactics are extremely dangerous," Captain Veltar observed after watching the human demonstration. "You risk significant casualties and collateral damage with such aggressive methods." "Captain, dangerous tactics work against dangerous enemies," Lieutenant Yu replied. The Devourers are not going to be defeated by careful precision strikes. Sometimes you need to hit them with everything you have and accept the risks. Meanwhile, Admiral Bay was meeting with the Federation Military Command Council to discuss overall strategy for the upcoming battle. The alien commanders were polite but clearly nervous about human involvement in their war. They had expected Earth to provide support troops, not take over the entire military operation. "Admiral Bay, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but the Federation has been fighting this war for 2 years," said Commander Zixnal of the aquatic species. "Our strategies are based on extensive experience with Devourer tactics and capabilities." Admiral Bay reviewed the Federation battle records on his datapad. Their strategies focused on defensive positions, hit-and-run attacks, and preserving their limited military resources. The aliens were fighting a war of attrition that they were slowly losing. "Commander, your strategies are appropriate for a weaker force trying to delay a superior enemy," Admiral Bay said diplomatically. "However, combined human and Federation forces now represent a significant military advantage. We should be planning offensive operations to destroy Devourer staging areas." The alien commanders looked shocked at the suggestion of offensive operations. For 2 years, they had been focused entirely on defending their remaining worlds and evacuating civilian populations. The concept of actually attacking the Devourers was beyond their current strategic thinking. "Admiral, the Devourers have superior numbers and technology," Commander Zixnal protested. "Offensive operations would result in catastrophic losses for our combined forces." "Sir, catastrophic losses are inevitable if we continue defensive operations," Admiral Bay replied. "The Devourers will eventually overwhelm your defenses and destroy your remaining worlds. Our only chance is to take the fight to them before they can consolidate their gains." Commander O supported Admiral Bay's assessment with detailed tactical analysis. Her computer models showed that the Federation's defensive strategy had a 0% chance of long-term success. The Devourers were gaining strength with every world they consumed, while Federation forces were becoming weaker. "The mathematics are clear," Commander O explained. "Federation forces lose approximately 8% of their combat effectiveness with each defensive engagement. Devourer forces gain approximately 12% effectiveness from consuming planetary resources. This trend leads to total Federation defeat within 18 months. The alien commanders studied Commander O's projections with growing alarm. They had been so focused on immediate survival that they had not calculated the long-term mathematical trends of their war. The human analysis was brutally accurate and deeply disturbing. Healer Zenthara spoke for the medical division of Federation forces. "If Admiral Bay is correct about offensive operations, we need to prepare for massive casualties on both sides. Our medical facilities are not equipped to handle the scale of warfare that humans are proposing." Captain Young J. Sim felt his stomach drop as the massive Devourer fleet emerged from hyperspace directly ahead of the combined Human Federation armada. Through the viewports of his experimental dreadnought, Soul's Fury, he could see hundreds of biomechanical ships that looked like living nightmares twisted into weapon platforms. Each Devourer vessel pulsed with organic energy and bristled with weapons that had destroyed entire civilizations. The Devourer fleet was larger than intelligence reports had suggested. Over 600 enemy ships arranged themselves in a formation that seemed to writhe and shift like a living organism. At the center of their fleet was something that made even veteran human soldiers pause in shock. The SciFiPrime was a massive entity the size of a small moon, covered in weapon ports and organic tentacles that reached out toward the Allied fleet. "All ships, this is Admiral Bay," came the voice over the communication system. "Enemy contact, confirmed. We are facing the largest Devourer force ever assembled. All human vessels switch to Combat Formation Alpha and prepare for immediate engagement." Tactical Officer Minji Hong was coordinating the battle from the command ship's tactical center. Her screen showed the positions of over 800 vessels as the two fleets moved toward each other across the empty void of space. The Federation ships were falling back into defensive positions, while human vessels moved aggressively forward to engage the enemy at close range. "Admiral, Federation forces are requesting permission to retreat to long-range engagement distance," Officer Hong reported. "Their commanders believe close combat will result in unacceptable casualties." "Negative," Admiral Bay replied firmly. "We cannot allow the Devourers to use their adaptive capabilities. Hit them hard and fast before they can adjust to our tactics. All human ships increase speed and close to point-blank range. The Federation commanders watched in horror as human vessels accelerated directly toward the Devourer fleet. This was exactly the opposite of what their military doctrine recommended when facing superior numbers. Captain Veltar of the Serpentine species was monitoring the battle from his command ship when he saw something that made his blood run cold. "Human vessels are on collision course with enemy fleet," Captain Veltar announced to his crew. "Are they planning to ram the Devourers? This appears to be a suicide attack." Ambassador Thornweave was observing the battle from the Federation flagship and could barely believe what he was seeing through his sensors. The humans were not just approaching the Devourers at close range, they were using tactics that seemed designed to maximize chaos and destruction rather than preserve their own forces. The first exchange of weapons fire lit up space like a miniature star. Devourer energy weapons lashed out at the approaching human ships, tearing through armor and destroying several vessels in the opening seconds. The aliens expected the human fleet to retreat or at least slow their advance. Instead, the remaining human ships increased their speed and returned fire with weapons the Devourers had never encountered before. Captain Sims' dreadnought was hit by 3 separate Devourer energy beams, but the ship's heavy armor absorbed most of the damage. "Engineering. I need maximum power to forward weapons," he ordered over the ship's communication system. "We are going to show these things what human firepower looks like." Engineer Tae-Hoon Woo was working frantically in the engine room to keep the ship's systems operational under combat stress. Devourer weapons caused strange feedback effects in human technology, but the engineering teams had prepared for this possibility. "Captain, all weapon systems are at full power and ready to fire," he reported. The Soul's Fury unleashed a barrage of nuclear missiles, particle beams, and kinetic projectiles at the nearest Devourer vessel. The combined firepower was equivalent to a small nuclear war concentrated into a few seconds. The Devourer ship's organic armor began to dissolve under the intense energy assault, and the creature inside screamed across multiple radio frequencies as it died. "Direct hit and enemy vessel destroyed," reported Officer Hong from her tactical station. "That's the first confirmed Devourer kill in 2 years of Federation warfare." The news spread across the Allied fleet's communication network, and suddenly, Federation forces began to rally. For 24 months, they had been fighting a losing war against enemies that seemed invincible. Seeing a Devourer ship actually destroyed gave them hope that victory might be possible. The SciFiPrime responded to the death of one of its subordinates by directing the full attention of the enemy fleet toward the human vessels. Hundreds of biomechanical ships began converging on the human formation, while energy weapons fired continuously across the expanding battlefield. "All Federation vessels, this is Admiral Bay," came the Admiral's voice over the communication system. "Human forces are drawing enemy attention. Now is your chance to engage with maximum effectiveness. Target their command ship and support vessels." The Federation fleet had never seen combat tactics like what the humans were demonstrating. Instead of trying to preserve their forces, the humans were deliberately drawing enemy fire and using themselves as bait to create opportunities for their allies. It was either brilliant strategy or complete insanity. Lieutenant Yu's Special Forces team was aboard a fast attack craft that was weaving between larger ships to target Devourer weak points. Her mission was to identify critical systems on enemy vessels and relay targeting data to the heavy weapons platforms. The work was extremely dangerous but provided essential intelligence for the larger battle. "Target analysis complete on enemy vessel designated Delta 7, Lieutenant Yu reported. Weak point identified at junction of organic and mechanical components. Recommend concentrated particle beam attack." 3 human destroyers focused their fire on the target that Lieutenant Yu had identified. The Devourer ship's hybrid systems failed catastrophically, and the entire vessel broke apart in a series of organic explosions. The Special Forces targeting system was proving highly effective against enemy vessels. The battle had been raging for 2 hours when the SciFiPrime finally joined the direct combat. The massive entity began moving toward the center of the Allied fleet while firing weapons that could destroy capital ships with single shots. Several Federation vessels were vaporized immediately, and even human ships took severe damage from the Prime's attacks. "All vessels, focus fire on the SciFiPrime," Admiral Bay ordered. "Coordinate targeting solutions and fire everything we have." Officer Hong was calculating firing solutions for over 200 ships when she noticed something unusual in the enemy formation. "Admiral, The Devourers are adapting to our weapons faster than expected. Their armor is becoming more resistant to our energy weapons after each hit. This was exactly what Admiral Bay had been afraid of. The Devourers' adaptive capabilities meant that prolonged engagements favored the enemy. The Allied fleet needed to destroy as many enemy ships as possible before their weapons became ineffective. All ships switched to kinetic weapons and explosive ordnance, Admiral Bay commanded. If they can adapt to energy weapons, let's see how they handle good old-fashioned explosives. The human fleet began firing nuclear missiles, railgun projectiles, and chemical explosives at the Devourer formation. These weapons worked on completely different principles than energy weapons, and the Devourers had not yet adapted to defend against them effectively. Captain Sim's dreadnought fired its entire magazine of nuclear-tipped missiles at the Devourer Prime. The massive explosions lit up space for thousands of kilometers and caused significant damage to the enemy command entity. For the first time in the battle, the Devourer Prime showed signs of serious injury. Engineer Wu was monitoring the ship's power systems when alarms began sounding throughout the engineering section. "Captain, we have critical overloads in the main reactor," he reported. "The Devourer energy weapons are causing cascading failures in our power grid." "Can you keep us operational?" Captain Sim asked, while maneuvering his ship to avoid incoming fire. "I can give you 10 more minutes at full power," Engineer Wu replied. "After that, we need to withdraw for emergency repairs or risk complete system failure." The same problem was affecting ships throughout the human fleet. Devourer energy weapons seemed specifically designed to disrupt the electrical systems that human technology depended on. Several human vessels had already lost power and were drifting helplessly through the battle zone. "Admiral, human fleet. Effectiveness is declining rapidly," Officer Hong reported. "We have lost 40% of our vessels to enemy fire and system failures. Federation forces are reporting similar problems." Admiral Bay realized that the battle was reaching a critical point. The Allied fleet had inflicted significant damage on the Devourers, but was taking heavy casualties in return. If the Devourer Prime survived much longer, it would adapt to human weapons, and the entire attack would fail. "All remaining vessels, coordinate for final assault on enemy command ship," Admiral Bay ordered. "Everything we have left focused on the Devourer Prime. This is our only chance to end this battle." The surviving human and Federation ships formed a desperate attack formation and began their final approach toward the massive enemy entity. The Devourer Prime responded by concentrating all of its weapons on the incoming Allied vessels. Ambassador Suho Kim stood before the assembled representatives of the Galactic Federation Council wearing the formal diplomatic uniform of Earth. 3 months had passed since the Battle of the Void, and the galaxy was still adjusting to the reality that the Devourers had not just been defeated, but completely driven from Federation space. The massive chamber on the Federation capital world was filled with delegates from dozens of species who had come to witness humanity's formal entry into galactic civilization. President Yoonji Chai watched the ceremony through live transmission from Earth. The woman who had helped coordinate humanity's response to the alien crisis was now dealing with the political aftermath of Earth's first interstellar war. Public opinion polls showed that 93% of humans supported joining the Galactic Federation, but there were complex negotiations about Earth's role in the new alliance. The Galactic Federation Council formally recognizes Earth as a founding military member with full voting rights and territorial claims, announced Council Speaker Mordeth of the Elder Species. In recognition of their decisive victory over the Devourer threat, humanity is granted primary responsibility for Federation military operations and defense planning. The announcement created a stir among the assembled delegates. No single species had ever been granted such broad military authority in Federation history. However, the recent war had demonstrated that human military capabilities far exceeded anything the other member species could provide. Admiral Sehun Bai was sitting in the gallery watching the diplomatic proceedings. The man who had commanded Earth's first interstellar fleet was now being hailed as a hero throughout Federation space. His tactical innovations had been adopted by military forces across the galaxy, and several species were requesting human military advisors to train their own forces. Dr. Hana Kim was also present at the ceremony as part of the Earth delegation. The scientist who had first detected the alien transmission was now heading a joint research project to study Devourer technology and prevent their return. Her work had revealed that the Devourers were not native to this galaxy, but were actually an invasive species from somewhere beyond the galactic rim. Ambassador Kim, would you please present Earth's terms for Federation membership? Council Speaker Mordeth requested. Ambassador Kim stepped forward to address the assembled delegates. He had spent weeks negotiating with Federation leadership to establish terms that would benefit both humanity and their new alien allies. The final agreement was unlike any treaty in galactic history. Earth accepts membership in the Galactic Federation under the following conditions, Ambassador Kim announced. First, humanity will serve as the primary military force for Federation defense, with full authority over strategic planning and tactical operations. Second, Earth will establish military training academies on Federation worlds to share human combat doctrine with allied forces. Third, all Federation species will contribute resources for expanding human military capabilities to defend against future external threats. The terms were generous to Earth, but the Federation delegates had little choice but to accept them. The recent war had proven that without human military support, the Federation would have been completely destroyed by the Devourers. No one wanted to face a similar threat without Earth's protection. General Minho Choi was monitoring the diplomatic proceedings from his new headquarters on the Federation Military Command World. As Supreme Commander of the Terran Defense Force, he was now responsible for coordinating the defense of over 40 inhabited star systems. His staff included both human and alien officers working together to develop new military strategies. The integration of human and alien military forces had proceeded faster than anyone expected. Federation species were eager to learn human combat techniques while humans were fascinated by alien technology and tactics. The combination was producing military innovations that neither side could have developed independently. Lieutenant Kyung Yu was now serving as an instructor at the new Joint Military Academy on the Federation training world. Her classes on small, unit tactics and special operations were attended by soldiers from 12 different species. The aliens were initially shocked by human training methods, but quickly adapted to the more aggressive style of warfare. Today, we will practice urban combat scenarios, Lieutenant Yu announced to her mixed class of human and alien soldiers. Remember that in close quarters fighting, speed and aggression are more important than careful planning. Your enemy will not give you time to think. The alien students had difficulty adjusting to human combat philosophy at first. Their species had evolved military tactics based on careful coordination and minimal casualties. Human methods emphasized rapid, decisive action even at the risk of higher losses. However, the recent war had proven that human tactics were more effective against adaptive enemies. Dr. Soyoung Nam was working in her new laboratory on the Federation Research Station, developing the next generation of human-alien hybrid technologies. Her team had successfully integrated Federation energy systems with human weapons platforms to create devices that were far superior to anything either species could build alone. The quantum resonance field generators are performing beyond all expectations, Dr. Nam reported to her research team. By combining Federation energy manipulation with human materials engineering, we have created weapons that are both more powerful and more reliable than previous designs. The technological exchange between humans and Federation species was revolutionizing both civilizations. Human manufacturing techniques were being adapted to produce Federation designs, while alien energy systems were being integrated into human technology. The result was a rapid advancement in capabilities for both sides. Engineer Tae-Hoon Woo had been promoted to Chief of Starship Engineering for the expanding human fleet. His expertise in maintaining human technology under combat conditions was now being applied to designing hybrid human-alien vessels that could operate effectively in any environment. The new destroyer-class ships are ready for their first deployment, Engineer Wu reported to Admiral Bay. By combining human armor designs with Federation propulsion systems, we have created vessels that are faster and more heavily armed than anything previously possible. The rapid expansion of human military capabilities was changing the balance of power throughout the galaxy. Several independent species that had remained neutral during the Devourer War were now requesting Federation membership specifically to gain access to human military protection. President Che was dealing with the political implications of Earth's new role as the galaxy's primary military power. Some human politicians worried that the responsibilities of galactic defense would drain Earth's resources and involve humanity in conflicts that were not their concern. We must remember that our decision to help the Federation was based on self-defense. President Che addressed the Global Defense Council. The Devourers would have eventually reached Earth if we had not stopped them. Our continued involvement in galactic affairs serves our own long-term security interests. The economic benefits of Federation membership were already becoming apparent on Earth. Advanced alien technologies were being adapted for civilian use, while human manufacturing capabilities were in high demand throughout Federation space. Trade agreements were generating unprecedented prosperity for both sides. Dr. Hana Kim's research into Devourer origins had revealed disturbing information about the threat they represented. The Devourers are not unique, she reported to the TD Joint Science Council. Our analysis suggests they are one of several invasive species that periodically sweep through galaxies, consuming all available resources. We need to prepare for the possibility of facing similar threats in the future. This revelation added urgency to the military expansion programs that were already underway. Human and Federation forces were not just preparing to defend their current territory, but were developing the capabilities needed to project power beyond the galactic rim if necessary. Ambassador Kim was concluding his address to the Federation Council with a statement that would be remembered throughout galactic history. Earth pledges to defend the Galactic Federation against all threats, whether they come from within our galaxy or beyond. Humanity has learned that the universe is a dangerous place, but we have also learned that courage and determination can overcome any enemy. The ceremony concluded with the formal signing of the Federation Charter by all member species. Earth's signature was placed alongside those of civilizations that were thousands of years older, but none of them questioned humanity's right to equal status. The recent war had proven that age and experience were less important than the willingness to fight for survival. Admiral Bay was reflecting on how much had changed since Dr. Hana Kim first detected the alien transmission 6 months earlier. Earth had gone from an isolated species to the dominant military power in galactic civilization. Human soldiers were now stationed on dozens of worlds, while human weapons were being manufactured in star systems across the galaxy. The transformation was not limited to military affairs. Human art, music, and literature were becoming popular throughout Federation space, while alien cultures were finding eager audiences on Earth.